Today I'm going to break down how I take care of my Mexican red knee tarantulas. Welcome to the Tarantula Collective. My name is Richard, and if you enjoy species-specific care and husbandry videos like this, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on all notifications so you're alerted anytime I upload a new video. Now today I want to talk to you about the Brachypelma hamorii, or the Mexican red knee tarantula. I've been getting a lot of requests lately from people asking me to cover the care and husbandry on this species. So today I'm going to break down exactly how I keep mine and share some of my experiences with you. The Brachypelma hamorii, formerly classified as the Brachypelma smithi, but known commonly as the Mexican red knee tarantula, is one of, if not the most popular tarantula in the hobby. When most people think of a tarantula, this is the species they picture in their mind. Made famous by being used in movies like Indiana Jones and the William Shatner movie Kingdom of the Spiders, this species was also showcased at the end of the episode Realm of Fear on Star Trek The Next Generation. As a pet of Miles O'Brien, he named Christina and said it was a Lycosa tarantula found on Titus IV. This species is endemic to Mexico, found mainly along the western coast south of Guadalajara in the drier savannas and scrublands. This is a New World terrestrial opportunistic burrower and was listed in CITES in 1985 due to dwindling numbers in the wild as a result of specimens being captured for the pet trade and other uses. These tarantulas are very popular in China at the time, and the excessive importing had a huge effect on the number that could be found in the wild. This wasn't the only issue facing this species, as many of the local people where the red knee is found saw them as a pest or even bad luck and would exterminate them on sight, further leading to the dwindling numbers. Listing them on sites protected the species from eradication and halted exportation without the proper documents, permitting them to be removed and shipped out of the country. By that time, though, the species was already well established in the hobby and bred regularly, making it one of the most common tarantulas to be found. This is due to its attractive and bright colorations with gorgeous black and orange patterns, its docile nature, and the easy care and husbandry. Like most species from Mexico, this tarantula is very simple to care for. I keep my spiderlings in small acrylic boxes filled halfway with substrate. I usually use cocoa fiber, peat moss, or creature soil and keep the substrate slightly damp while they are small and vulnerable. I provide a hide and plenty of depth so they can burrow. I keep mine in a spiderling nursery that has a constant temperature around 76 degrees Fahrenheit and provide a small water dish if there is room, or drip a little water on the web or spray it on the side of the enclosure a few times a week. When they outgrow that enclosure, I move them into my juvenile terrestrial enclosures, which are usually an AMAC box or some kind of acrylic box, or even something fancier like the Tarantula Crib's juvenile enclosures. I keep the enclosure filled at least halfway or more with substrate, and make sure there is no more than 1.5 times the tarantula's leg span from the floor of the enclosure to the lid, to reduce any damage from a fall. I provide a hide, water dish, and maybe a few plastic plants for decoration. I keep the water dish full, but let the substrate remain dry, overflowing the water dish once or twice a month, but always allowing it to completely dry before overflowing it again. And when they reach their adult size, I move them into 2.5 to 5 gallon size enclosures. There really is no need to keep them in any enclosure larger than that. But some people do prefer to keep their adults in a larger enclosure, like a 10-gallon aquarium or an acrylic enclosure equivalent in size. Again, it is very important to fill the enclosure at least half, if not higher, with substrate, so that there is no risk of the tarantula crawling up the side and falling from the top, rupturing its abdomen. I mainly use cocoa fiber at this size as they prefer a more arid environment, and eco-earth is very inexpensive. But any of the typical tarantula substrates will work fine as long as you keep them dry. I provide a water dish and hide, and overflow the water dish once a month and then let the substrate in that corner dry out before overflowing again. As far as feeding, I give my spiderlings size-appropriate prey once or twice a week. Usually, I use pinhead crickets or roaches no larger than 2/3 the size of the sling. If I don't have anything that small, I pre-kill the prey before dropping it in, or I cut up large crickets or mealworms and just feed them the pieces. They are scavengers at this size and will typically eat pre-killed prey with no issues. I remove any uneaten prey or prey pieces within 24 hours and wait at least 48 hours after a molt before attempting to feed again. For juveniles, I will feed 1 or 2 small or medium crickets a week and determine the frequency based on the size of the abdomen. I feed more prey more often when the abdomen is small. Then as the tarantula gets plump, I feed less prey less often. Overfeeding a tarantula does not cause it to grow faster. I usually wait about a week after my juveniles molt before feeding them again. For adults, depending on their size, I usually feed 6 to 8 large crickets every other week. Again, more prey more often when they are thin or recently molted, and less prey less often as they get plump. It is not uncommon for this species to go weeks or even months refusing food. They are naturally opportunistic feeders and usually only eat when prey crosses their path around their burrow. So your tarantula, especially as an adult, may not show interest in food for long periods of time. This is not a cause for concern and is normal behavior. When this happens, just wait a couple of weeks and try to feed them again. If they don't eat, I always remove the prey within 24 hours and wait a few more weeks before attempting it again. You don't want to leave crickets or any other prey in the enclosure for long periods of time when your tarantula is not eating, as it may molt and the live prey roaming around could stress them out or even cause injury or death to your tarantula, as they are very vulnerable during and immediately after a molt. I wait about 2 weeks after my tarantula molts before attempting to feed, giving ample time for the exoskeleton and fangs to harden up. There is a reason this is one of the most popular species in the hobby, and that is because it is so beautiful, docile, and easy to care for. They can be a little bit of a hair kicker, and their urticating hairs could cause itching and even a little swelling, especially if you're sensitive. Their venom is not known to be medically significant, and they're much more apt to run and hide than give a threat pose or try to bite you. There's also been a little confusion about this species lately, as for many years, this tarantula in the hobby was classified as the Brachypelma smithi and sold as such. Recently, upon closer examination, there were some subtle differences, and it was concluded that what we have in the hobby that was classified as the B. smithi is now reclassified as the B. hamorii, and the species that was classified as the Brachypelma anitha is in fact correctly classified as the Brachypelma smithi. I will leave a link in the description to the entire paper if you're interested in diving deep on the specifics of why they changed the name and reclassified this species. Right now I only have a couple of juveniles and a couple of spiderlings. My first Mexican Red Knee Tarantula ended up being a male and died a few years ago. Now, males of this species only live about 10 years max, but females can live anywhere between 20 to 30 years. So they're a very long-lived species and a tarantula that you're gonna have in your collection for quite a while. If you have a Brachypelma hamorii, I would love to see pictures of it, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. And if you post a picture of your Mexican Red Knee, make sure to tag me so I can check it out. Want to give a huge shout out to Alex from Tarantula Haven for this shirt. I really enjoy it. If you haven't watched any of his videos lately, he has really stepped up his game and is putting out some beautiful content, so I highly suggest you go check him out. If you haven't had a chance to listen to my new podcast, I'll leave a link to the video versions in this playlist right here. And if you want to catch up on all the past episodes of care and husbandry videos, just check out this playlist right here. As always, I appreciate you watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for buying Tarantula Collective merchandise, and I will see you next Tuesday.